Hello, fellow watchers and interactors. It is I, Piggy, and I'm joined by Ash.
Hello.
And yeah, we're going to bring you yet another edition of the Watching Walford podcast. Classic edition. It's episode 6. Today, we're going to cover the biggest storylines and takeaways from week 6 of 1985. All the episodes from the 26th of the 3rd all the way to the 28th of the 3rd. We have what are the topics? Well, we have intro, the square fight back. That is it, really. Thoughts and awards, members' comments / reactions to week 5, membership shout out, and then um, where do you want to start? I guess immediately with the.
I mean, we could just leave a bit of preamble. This week's a weird one, honestly, because I mean we've often found it right where we're doing these. We do realize why we watched 4 episodes in one because the 1 hour or the not even an hour, what the 40-50 minutes of episodes. Not much really does happen, and usually there's at least two or three small, like one big topic, two or three smaller topics. Mate, this week it's just one topic. That's it. It's kind of wild, honestly.
Yeah,
But I kind of I appreciate it in a sense, but also each week we kind of say, yeah, this one's probably going to be a short one, and then we read all the comments, and then it gets really long again. So who knows?
but without further ado, I will move on to the first and only topic, which is the square fights back. I forgot to change the camera to me. There we go. Hello, that's me, Piggy. So, what do I mean by the square fight back? Well, dear audience member, let me tell you. So, Nick's been a bit of a bad boy. If you don't know, he has a certain affiliation, a sort of a firm to a certain group from the 40s.
He is a member of a fascist movement.
Is it fascism? Who knows?
Yes.
Yes. Is it wrong to have some altering views that will harm other people? Yeah, clearly. Yeah, obviously. But I think I was going to say no. But yeah, no. He has some opinions about immigrants and some opinions about other people. So he's been a bit of a bad boy. As you've seen in the first week, which you don't really know as an audience member until he goes to prison. Spoiler, by the way. He did kill Reg Cox, but that's obviously alluded to because we don't know yet. He's basically robbed a bunch of not memorabilia, bunch of like stuff and sold it. Basically nicking off people and then reselling that equipment. Which is just why you stealing and then selling in the same place? Who knows? He's been trying to convert Mark and Lofty. I nearly said into Islam. That's the wrong one. Into becoming a fascist. And yeah, so that's what he's been doing recently. And with that,
He has been grooming Mark as well. He's been grooming Mark to kind of become a part of this group, and him and Lofty both have been, and even a bunch of like young lads as well, who's been kind of, yeah, he's been manipulating and trying to coax them along. I mean, it's the same sort of tendencies of the like, I mean, even in recent like EastEnders example of the kind of like cuckooing type thing, where he is just slowly grooming these people to get involved and not in the most generous way, right? He is manipulating and then abusing their trust and then essentially trying to get them in over their head so they will continue to help him.
Yeah, which is not nice with Nick. So I was gonna say the immigrants. That's probably the wrong way to say it, but basically the people not from Walford are unhappy, because well they moved here. They are
I
from
guess
here.
you'll probably use the term minorities.
The minorities are not happy because Nick is fairly handedly, like, let's just say there's Lou Beale and Saeed. He's going, fucking hell, someone stinks in here and it's not you, Lou. Pretend he's staring at Saeed when he's saying that. And Saeed is obviously like, I'm from here. I was born here, man. And he's like, no, you're not, you Asian. And it's like, okay, Grant, sit back down in your chair. Stop it.
I
And
mean, like, they are very kind of open with the fact of, you know, in 80s London, it's probably the best you're getting, you know what I mean? Like, they aren't threatening to throw you out of town. So, you know what? that's comfortable. Like that's the kind of level where just a lot of casual racism being thrown around. But it is just the state of play at the time. But yeah, it's kind of. I mean, last week as a cliffhanger, last time, Ali got smashed in the head by someone who they believe is Nick, and the minorities of Walford start to generally team up and kind of go, "Hey, do you need help?" Basically, let's look out for each other, because if we don't, nobody will. So Tony offers to help, like, put locks on the Minute Martin, and he offers to do the same, and Sue wants him to do the same with a cafe. Sue and Ali start having arguments because obviously Sue's weird in a way, because you can imagine that Sue's probably received abuse from people angry at her for getting with a Turkish man. But obviously Ali's probably faced a lot of abuse, a lot of which we've seen by the hands of Nick, where he, fiery, is pretty willing to go over there, batter him, sort it out. You know what I mean? He's got that fiery temper, wants to just handle things. But Sue kind of wants him to be a little bit more reserved, a little bit less kind of fiery, and this is where we get all the famous, like, stupid bloody English woman, all that sort of thing, because it's a source of conflict in their relationship. But yeah, it does lead some funny lines, but you can understand where it comes from and why it comes out.
Yeah, and so basically they assemble the minority Avengers, and they go beat up Nick Cotton. Well, most of them beat up Nick Cotton, so he gets absolutely throttled. But Big Tony, Big Dick Tony, and Ali batter the shit out of him. I want to say Neymar gets her kicks in, but that's just me projecting the Neymar propaganda. But let's just say she got a few kicks in. And let's say Sue used a child against Nick as well. Like him with the child.
Christ.
And yes, that's mostly what happens to Nick in the following episode. He's very annoyed with Mark, and he tries to get Lofty to convert with him, but Lofty's not having it. So Mark is going around to give shopping to Ethel, and Ethel's like, "Okay, what are you doing here?" And then Nick's like, "Where's the money?" And Ethel's like, "Fuck off." Launches him into a picture, and then hoops him in the bollocks after he tried to put his foot on Willie.
Yeah, honestly, this confrontation's really kind of funny, because he basically decides, Ethel's an easy target, and then has the kind of term of, she doesn't believe in banks, because the old people wouldn't be super trusty. What, we just give my money to someone else to hold it for me? What the fuck? But so yeah, they confront Ethel, and she has an idea, but then he essentially, he grabs her and, like, covers her mouth and goes, like, stop screaming, stop screaming. And Nick he's not a very scary man. He says some nasty things, but he is all bark and no bite. He threatens he puts his boot over Willie's head, but doesn't do anything. And at this point, Ethel proceeds to bloody push him face first into a picture frame, and then he spins around and Ethel kicks him in the bollocks. And as the only sense of, like, retort he has is, Nick then proceeds to punch Mark and then flees. So he's been destroyed by fucking Ethel. Like, he has lost the fight to Ethel, and I don't know how or why, but it's just good fun, isn't it? It's just ridiculous.
And obviously Dr. Leg hears Ethel screaming. They go upstairs, and then Dr. Leg confronts Mark. And Mark's like, "You gotta help me, man. You gotta help me. Please help me." And he's like, "Well, you got yourself into this mess. Figure out how to get out of it, Mark."
And they lean into the more kind of slightly darker side, where they mention how Mark has tried. He's tried smack. He's tried heroin, but he didn't like it, and it just made him sick. So like, and then Dr. Leg is kind of angry with Inspector Rich, just like, you know, there's a massive heroin problem here. Why the fuck aren't you doing anything about it? And Detective Rich just basically says, underpowered, underfunded, not my fucking job. It's like, fucking hell, all right then, sound. Guess I'll just do it myself. But yeah, it's kind of it's there's not very much else that goes on really. Like the most interesting part about this is just how Tony and Lofty, Saeed, Ali, and Tony all just get their digs in on Nick, and he is put in his place essentially. And it's just seeing about how he responds, and how he responds is he doesn't really change his behavior at all in the slightest, and just continues doing what he's doing.
Always a racist, will always be a racist. Once a racist, always a racist. There we go, finally said it. I was happy with the fascism, Nick, and then you put your foot on Willie. That's where you've gone too far.
That's too far. How fucking dare you, son?
I can't wait for that to be clipped. I'm fucking buckled myself for that. Time to move on to the thoughts and awards.
See, the issue when I think about Nick putting the boot on Willie, I think of that really shitty AI clip that goes around where it's Dwayne the Rock Johnson versus like a toddler. And he like slaps the toddler, and then the toddler gets to the top rope and chins him one. You ever seen that clip?
I've not, thankfully. I'm usually up to date with these AI slots.
It's always the shit where it's like, if wrestling's not real, then look at this. It's just like, oh, fuck off. Stop doing AI shit, guys. Stop fucking doing it. That's what I think of where someone's gonna now do Willie the Pug, just fucking hitting him with a Mario-esque uppercut straight to the jaw.
Yahoo! Here you go.
No, he says, Willie!
It's Willie! Gets cut off. But yeah, it's the thoughts and awards.
God damn, it feels wrong. It feels really wrong that this
Don't worry,
is the entire
Luke's commented about 70 times, so we're gonna still be here for 2 hours. Don't worry. But I this week, well, it kind of dragged, but it flew by. To be fair, me and Ash were doing a lot of.
What the fuck did you just say? Well, it did drag, but it also flew by. All right, mate.
Catch me out again, motherfucker. See who ends this channel. I'm only joking, Ash. I would never. It's you who will be firing my mic check scandal does happen. Or racist scandal. But yeah, this week was all right. Just to say that again, it was all right. I thought like there was some decent scenes. I love Saeed getting absolutely twatted. I found that funny. I also liked when Ethel fought back against Nick. That was extremely funny. I'm trying to think of what else. But
I suppose a minor bit that we didn't mention. Just it is simply just Debbie doesn't know how to relate to anybody on the square. And that's just a little side thing where Andy's obviously like, Debbie, you're a bit overbearing, aren't you? Stop getting involved in everybody's fucking business. And then Debbie's like, but I need to help them. And that's it. Just Debbie's a bit overbearing. People don't really like Debbie much. Like, it's mostly just the scene where Debbie goes to try and like support Ethel, but Lou just sat there like looking like fucking, I don't know, looking like she smells of shit. Just that for the whole conversation. Just Ethel, just Lou, just like, fucking, who the fuck do you think you are?
Yeah. What is your thoughts on our war? What's your thoughts?
It's an alright week. Not very impactful, really, but just very succinct, I guess. It's fun enough. It's light-hearted. It's like, it's the weird thing with early EastEnders, because Whereas now they aren't afraid to get fully in the weeds and go real dark with it. But like everything they do, despite mentioning like people abusing heroin and like this fascist group, it's still kind of got like a slightly like jovial tune to it. It's still, I don't know how to like describe it. Where it's not like in the weeds where it's like, oh, a Nick Cotton is a fucking racist. But like still it's like, ah, well, he has been doing some slightly fascist things, hasn't he? Ah, bloody hell, let's batter him. Like it's kind of, I don't know. It to me, it kind of it's the weird bit. It kind of exists slightly out of reality, where despite Nick having been incredibly racist to everyone, it's still not even treated as harsh as it would be done today, which I guess is slightly refreshing. I don't know. Just I don't really know how to feel about it. Honestly, it was like it's a fun week, but it's just the tone is just fucking bizarre.
I mean, yeah, and now it's time for the awards.
Did you give your thoughts?
I did. I said it was a nice week. Um, yes, now it's time for the awards.
He's given the Strictly reactions.
I already gave my thoughts. Okay, you not watch the show?
No.
Okay, fair enough. That's actually on. I wouldn't do if I were you. So yeah, fair enough. You are right. But I did like this week. Just to reiterate, I did like it. It was an alright week. Again, I don't have much to say because nothing really happened. So, the awards,
I think
which
I'll always maintain and say it's less is more,
yeah,
which is working, but I don't know how I don't know how so little is so interesting. That's the weird bit. Like that, yeah, sure, there's not much to like sink our teeth into story wise, because it is just basically Nick gets his comeuppance, which is good. And like these scenes, I remember these scenes quite strongly. So it's clearly left an impression on me. And so it's one of the scenes I remember from when I watched it initially. I was like, holy fuck, you know? Like the fight was a little bit bollocks. Both fights were a little bit bollocks. They didn't really know how to shoot it, and obviously I highly doubt there are any fucking stunt coordinators. So the first fight is pretty trash. Then the second fight is pantomime, but both still ultimately memorable.
yeah, and now we have 4 awards. We have the Julia and Tony award, the Sue Osman award. We've underrated and who needs slamming down. Julia and Tony, I'm giving to Ethel and Mark's friendship. I like it. Ethel gives Mark a words of wisdom, and yeah, I very much enjoyed it. Honestly, that's all I gotta say on that. Don't have much more to add to that. I can't wait to see more of it. If Mark does stick around.
Most promising. Uh, just Mark. I think it's just important to just kind of enjoy Mark's character whilst he's still here, because I honestly couldn't tell you how long he lasts. It's not very long at all in the slightest. So just Mark. I think he's just a good character, and yeah, that's all I really got to say about that without dragging all the sad shit about it.
Up next, we have the Sue Osman Award, which is the most one on the main podcast. It is the Anthony Truman Award, and then probably before that, it was the Keanu Taylor Award of Excellence, and before that, it was the Steve Blackman Award. It's the most one, and yeah. What am I giving it to? I'm giving it to
Saeed.
Saeed. Yeah, we're both giving it to Saeed.
He gets battered.
He gets absolutely throttled. And then we have underrated. Honestly, Nick got underrated.
I'm gonna give it to Neymar. I enjoyed how, despite her just looking at Nick threateningly, she got the biggest like eye. She got the biggest like. She got the most time in front of the camera during that fight, despite it being all Tony and Ali. It was just her just looking disgusted. I'm like, yeah,
And who needs slapping down? Nick.
yes.
I can forgive a fascist. I can't forgive someone who puts a boot on a pole. And that's what
Nobody puts the boot on Willie
yeah. And now it is time for
unless you ask for it specifically. And in that case, it's usually a heel.
But it's now time for the members' comments and reactions to week.
Six, five.
Week 5. There we go. We only have one comment for the Pimpgate reactions, which is by Luke the Ultimate Hoovian. There's another fun reactions for you both, and yet with another dodgy opening soundbite from Ash. Yes.
Yeah, you can tell that I don't edit the reactions down because Piggy starts most of the reactions with just one weird noise I make during the session.
Yeah. Because if you were editing it, it would actually just be all of this shit stuff I say, and it'd be making me look bad instead of making you look bad, and that's
Exactly.
honestly it. Um,
I don't even edit the solo. I don't even edit my solo videos anymore. That just goes up raw. I don't.
we have a few comments, and I'm just going to very briefly touch on this comment you can see here on your screen between Luke the Almahovian and Sobriety and Solace, but I'm not going to read the full interaction. But he just says, I'm sadly at a family party. Can't watch this as soon as I'd like, but I still want to comment and say I can't wait for this new episode. With the highlight of my weeks recently, and I don't care if that sounds sad. Thanks, Piggy and Ash. He put me first. Fuck you, not you. For all the hard work and consistent effort you put into each and every video. And then obviously Sobriety Solace says, you don't sound sad. These boys have become a comforting, consistent presence in my life for quite a while too. And then yeah, they have a full interaction which you can read. And then obviously I have a comment here that says, hey, don't come across sad at all we want for this channel is to be a getaway. Even if Piggy is right in this comment, do bring real life situations into it. Everything will be alright, Luke. Trust. Prayers emoji and Piggy. That is what I put.
Yeah, it's one of those kind of fun, like it's a heartwarming reaction, right? It's two commenters who have been, and both members of the channel as well. Both have been consistent contributors to the channel and in the comment sections. So yeah, it's the weird thing where we've been doing this for so long at this point, where not to fully peel back the curtain. And obviously, this isn't supposed to fearmonger, but if you asked me a year ago, am I thinking about ever stopping doing this? And the answer is no. You ask me now, and the answer is probably, some days it's would I stop doing this? The answer is yes. But obviously we're not going anywhere anytime soon. But fundamentally, it's always nice to know that what we do does help people. It does go out to people, and it goes out, and people kind of people enjoy it in different ways. And this could be when the video is released. It could be the highlight of some people's week, and that to me is the really cool bit because it's really easy in this kind of in this it's very easy on YouTube to, at some point, you do just feel like you are yelling into the void. And yeah, we built up a fairly consistent audience now, and I think we're nearly at about 1.7k subs. So we've carved out our little niche, and it is really nice to do that, but it definitely at some point after it's like, all right, this is week number. I don't want to know how many weeks we've been recording 5-6 videos every Monday for. It's been a lot of time, and sometimes it is very easy to forget that this can be important to people. And yeah, sure, we do have the members, and we always shout out the members, and we pretty much read all the comments. Let's be real. So. But yeah, it is very easy to forget that it may mean something more than just someone going, oh, they released a video, not watching that shit. So yeah, it's always lovely to know that it does matter to some people. It still matters to us, of course. We're not going anywhere. But am I as in love with it as I used to be? No, but I mean, I can't. I wouldn't say that it shows anymore. I'd still say we're pretty consistent regardless. So it's not like it's not like I'm here and I'm just doing it for the money or whatever. I still enjoy it.
And
But yeah,
£4.99
what do you think about this?
super chat. Money messing. My thoughts is, as long as you don't become parasocial and you start fucking, well, you can't really stalk me because if you live in England, you can only really stalk us depending where you live. But as long as you don't become overly obsessive and fucking start having pictures of us on your wall and you start being obsessive over it, I don't care what you do. As long as you're just nice, leave some comments. And if you look at us as a getaway, or a gateway, whatever you want to call it, I don't know the word, then that's fine with me. We all have different ways we want to forget the world. Yes, do I bring real life situations or what's happening in the world into this as much as Ash hates it and he looks at me with displeasure and displease? Yes, but again, I just do it to try and laugh at situations. The world is on fire. But who really cares? Because like we're here to watch EastEnders and review it. Well, shittily review it. Because everyone else who does it, I don't bury anyone else because they all seem like lovely people, but I just feel like we have more generous people here who will tell us when our content is shit and when our content is good. And I feel like that is a nice thing I like about our little niche community. I am hoping we beat.
But when has anyone ever told us our content shit?
It's whenever I appear on a short and you don't. That's usually
Oh
when.
yeah, true.
Fucking pedo Piggy over here. I'm not a pedo, guys. Leave me alone. Like it is, because it's side note, it is funny when I get all the hate comments because I'm like, that's fair enough, not really. Because there's one person I follow and I don't want to be mean to him, but his name's Tom Campbell, and like what he would do is when he's seen like negative comments thrown at him because he is a bit of a, not a wild card, but like if you are an outsider,
Well, it's just kind of it is definitely an acquired personality. You either
yeah.
love him or you found him annoying as fuck.
Yeah, kind of like me in a sense, except I'm probably more annoying than him. But like the problem is he would try and like tell the hate commenters like to be like, hey, actually don't do this. But to me, I'm like, I don't care because I just look at it as if unless you call me like fucking Piggy H word, then like that's a bit far. But if you're just like going, you're a pedo, you're a piece of shit, I don't care. That's fine. You know, Jeffrey at Piggy is where I think the line's too far. But like I don't
Well,
care.
it's just yeah, like usually just kind of surface level shit,
Yeah,
right? Where some people just struggle to understand you because I mean, even me at the start, I was just like, I don't know what the fuck you're saying after. Didn't help how you also had a pretty garbage microphone, but you definitely become both. I've just learned how you speak, but also it does take a while to actually fully understand you.
but
But
like
like, yeah, it's just one of those weird things. It's that weird thing where like when you have the people who hate on you, it kind of it's very human to like want to like read it and you sometimes internalize it and then you kind of you want to like fight back, but you also always just look like more of a prick if you actually like fight back and respond to it. Like you always just look like a so he's like, I'm taking it back. It's like, yeah, but you don't need to read those, homie. Like, you don't need to actually get involved.
see,
But that's usually what I see with like, larger people where it's like, I'm going to fight back. And it's like, yeah, but they're still winning because it's got a reaction though. Like, it's just...
if you don't know, if we do get a negative comment, 'cause I do check YouTube Studio almost daily just to see how the videos are doing. So I know it might sound
Yeah.
sad, but I am a content creator in a sense. So I kind of
Yeah, you
want
want
to,
to see how it goes.
yeah, I want to see how it goes. Usually when I see that all the
Want to
EastEnders
see
videos,
what people respond with and all
yeah,
that sort of stuff.
and usually when I see the EastEnders videos are doing worse than the Hollyoaks videos, I'm like, oh damn it. But any Hollyoaks video gets fucking
It's
popped
most
up.
honestly, it's not even Holyoke. It's mostly just Coronation
It
Street
is
these
Coronation
days.
Street, yeah, fair enough. But like, what I do is when I get a hate comment, I screenshot and send to Ash me about laugh about it because it is funny.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Like
yeah. And then Ash like, I'll fucking
it's
fight
like
him. I'm like, don't fight me.
it's like for a while I would like respond to it and basically I was just aiming to like farm some content really, but we don't get that much outrageous hate comments. It's usually just surface level shit because like honestly it's the one bit where people are just like who the fuck cares about EastEnders? You're commenting on a video about EastEnders. Who even fucking likes this stuff?
See,
You're commenting on a video. It's usually that sort of stuff, which is just funny.
I do find it funny in a sense because I see those sort of same people who will, because if you don't know, I'm in the figure community, as you can tell with the figures behind me that are not displayed. But it is funny because it's like because you get
Can't
off.
wait for Piggy to sell out when he puts LED lights like lighting up each box specifically. Just like...
This video is sponsored by Temu, but yeah, like, but as I was saying, because obviously you have the people who I watch the figure community people, and you get all the nice comments. You're like, oh, thanks for reviewing this figure. I know not to buy it, etc., etc. Or I will buy this figure. Thank you for the review. Because sometimes you want someone's like critique of the figure, whether it's good or bad. It kind of like a game review, if that makes sense. Basically, like this paint control is shit. Who made it? But obviously, you get to the weird comments. You're like, grown man playing with dolls, by the way, and it's like, yeah, but who looks weirder, you commenting that or the guy who's just collecting? Because it's the weird thing which like I find weird. It's just it's when you get hate comments, but it's like, who watches EastEnders? You clearly found our channel, you clicked on it, commented, clearly had enough time to comment.
It's got
on
to be
it.
in your algorithm for some reason. We're not exactly a big channel.
Like it's like fucking the one I found funny, which I know Ash's gonna grow because I'm mentioning him, but it's like Tommy Robinson who complained about fucking Twitter, on Twitter about YouTube showing gay ads, and then people went, "It's your algorithm, Tommy. What are you watching?" Because that is pretty funny because you got gay homoerotic ads. And it's that sort of thing. If we appeared in your For You page and you complain to us, it's not our fault. You're clearly watching a topic that has intrigued you, and now you're on our channel. That's why what I do is when I watch a video that I don't want intrigued, I just click delete from search history or watch history. That's just what I do. But yeah, like I said, I don't mind if you use it as a gateway or anything. Essentially, not essentially don't become parasocial, especially towards Ash. Ash would not like that. Ash would be fucking fuming. Ash would be like, "Oh, Ash, I want to cuddle you. Get the fuck away from me. 6 meters, bitch. COVID's been gone for 6 years, but it's still here, bitch. Fuck off."
I read all the comments and I respond to some of them, but do not message me, please, everyone, please.
But yeah, that's all I wanted to say on that. That's how I want to view it.
But yeah, the main point is just fundamentally though. Look, I'm glad that it means a lot to some people, and that's what we do it for. It's as I mentioned briefly, it's very easy to forget. It's easy to forget where it's like, all right, another fucking week. We're not enjoying the actual EastEnders, so we just have to fucking Piggy's tilted because of Ravi's here. I gotta fucking listen to Piggy complain about Ravi for 40 minutes. Fucking, but we obviously we still enjoy it, and we wouldn't be doing it if we didn't. So it's nice that we still continue to. Well, it's that thing, right? You do something long enough, you kind of expect, you kind of know what you're getting, but it's always nice to get like kind of surprising, kind of like, oh hey, this person suddenly emerged out of nowhere and they love all our shit. So it's cool, it's humbling, and we appreciate it. Even, I say that, although it is always depressing though, where it's like, oh, how. And the one thing that is always sad is like, how does the podcast do? 20 views, what the fuck? And it's like, hey, the watch time is really good. 20 people will watch a lot of the podcast, but it's just slightly depressing. But just how it is,
It's just how it works, and I'm not getting rid of the podcast because then there's no point of doing the channel. Well, there is the Reddit videos, but just like doing the podcast, it is better than to say in every Reddit video, this is why I don't like the character. It's like, I count it as like a little interlude to the podcast in a sense.
I mean, if we did stop doing the podcast, we'd probably just have to cover it in a slightly different way. But obviously, we're not getting rid of the podcast.
No.
So.
But now we'll move on, and thank you again, Luke and Sobriety Solace, for your comments. And also, if you're wondering, do I have someone in my corner whenever I get hate comments? Yes, I do. I have a pit bull known as Flora, and when I send them when I get hate comments, Flora fucking pipes up being like, "Well, you're on their channel, mate, so fuck off." Right, thank you, Flora. Thank you. Fighting my battles for me. Don't have to fight them. Even though Ash has known me long enough that I love to rage bait people.
Yeah.
I still
and then
do
he likes
love
to say he
doing
doesn't
them.
rage bait people.
This is why I can't have any of the viewers actually message me on Discord, because I will just wind them up and they will stop watching, and then Luke won't give us £5 every week. So Luke, just to let you know, be careful, mate. You've added me on Discord, but be careful. I will rage bait you at some point. I will. All right, continuing on. Sorry for that. But continuing on. As my unofficial role here that I've happily taken up in this podcast, I've looked into the question Piggy and Ash Piggy and Ash asked about how long Doc Cotton had been working in the laundrette in 1985. I can confirm that she'd been worked there since the 11th of October, 1961. And she'd been working there for almost 20, I nearly said 34, 24 years by the time she debuted on her screen in 1985. Of course, she later celebrated her 50th anniversary at the laundrette, this storyline in October 2011. So she definitely was in it for the long haul. Fucking Hulk
That
Hogan.
does feel quite depressing in a way, doesn't it? I've been here 50 years. Has anything about it improved?
The
The other
washing machine.
machines.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Do I get paid more? Probably not. I probably even get paid less. You know what? Like, but yeah, I mean, it's cool. Like I said, it's just the legacies, right? It's the legacies you build up. I think the reason we're talking about it, I don't know if it was in that video, but I mentioned about how, yeah, I think it was in one of the last podcasts you mentioned about how, the places are synonymous, usually synonymous with the characters, but it depends with how much they're used. And obviously, the laundrette kind of got pretty shafted for a while because it was just Karen in there, and like, who gives a fuck about Karen Taylor? You know what I mean? Like, you need that sort of, you
Legacy.
need that friendly face there, and you need, like, Yolande being there in the last couple of years. For like 3 months they made it be Linda, but like, you need someone there to be a sounding board essentially, and it comes and goes with who's there, but these locations do kind of get highlighted a lot, and they get used a lot depending on who's kind of there. And I think that it's I don't know, it's cool, but I definitely think that some locations do just get shafted through time, and the laundrette's one which is relatively back.
Yeah. Moving on. Don't worry. For this is a £5 super chat donation.
Tony Chimmel.
I know. That's my goal, to try and do it. Don't worry, Ash and Piggy. My forensic breakdowns of the network of characters will stop here. Quite glad to be honest.
Thank you.
Well, they have one more. Don't worry.
To be fair, Piggy, he was just starting to get really good at reading the numbers.
We'll stop here. I'm quite glad to be honest, as I hate maths, so do I. And I'm not very good at it, but unfortunately my obsessive autistic nature kind of knew you had autistic for autistic mate. No, the signs were there. Nature.
He's also mentioned it before, of course. That's the fucking...
Yeah. Most of the time compels me to break things down and try to make sense of them. I appreciate that.
Also, let's be honest, it is the internet. Us autistic people do just we find each other, to be honest. That's the wild bit. Like, the amount of autistic people I know in real life, the amount of autistic people I became friends with online, fucking ridiculous.
I mean, there is two types of autism people on the internet. You either are just
like EastEnders.
No, you either just are a normal autistic internet person, or you just turn out to be like Chris Chan, and there's no in between.
Yeah, but that's mostly just bad parenting, really. But
Well, and doing stuff to your mother that we shouldn't talk
analysis.
Yes, they were just helping their mother with maths. I appreciate that. It's probably a lot of pointless shit, to be honest. I don't mind it. I just don't like reading it every week. I'm sorry. And I do get carried away. For that, I apologize to both of you and to anyone watching. Cheeky monkey emoji. And now,
I mean, it's all good. It's always very hard to understand when it's like, the one example of this is, obviously, I mention it fairly often, but I have, I do stream on my Twitch channel not recently, but fairly frequently. And for a while, I added something to the Twitch chat called Butt Spot, which it's really funny because it takes a message that somebody types and it puts the words butts in there instead. And I had this shit like 6 months out of date. It was there too fucking long. And people are just like, get rid of that fucking thing. And I'm like, no, I need it. I need it for the small streams. And it's funny because it replaces a word with the word butts in there. Isn't that funny? And it's like, no, it's not funny. It's not been funny for fucking 9 months. Get rid of it. And I got rid of it. But it was probably like 6 months too late. But it is hard to know when the time is over, especially with the old autism. Anyways, like, but is this okay? Mate, it's like even fucking. I'm still chatting to one of my mates. I still don't even know if they like me or not, but they don't. They haven't stopped messaging me yet. So fuck, they haven't stopped. We still talk each day, so I guess everything's fine. Like I'm really bad at perceiving how people view me. I don't really know. It's a part of the autism. I've not really cracked the code on. It's like, well, it seems like everything's fine, so I guess it's fine. But how do people view me? Who the fuck knows? I don't know. I like to think I'm funny, I guess. That's about it. That's my surface level observation. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah, I find you funny, mate. Don't worry. And I'm not saying that because you're going to give me that
Yeah,
five
but
pound.
you've got a shit sense of humor, don't you?
And I'm not saying that because I'm going to get the £5
And I
super chat.
disavow that opinion.
Uh,
No,
but
yeah,
no,
it's I. But all that to say, I understand. We understand. It's all good. We weren't screaming at you.
no.
Like for the most part, we're mostly just making jokes about everything. Nothing super serious. It's just you know.
Yeah. That Ash is totally right. That's what we do. We do what we do. Um, I'm embarrassed. He says here. Those are like the ultimate movie. I'm embarrassed to admit that when I saw Piggy's shirt with the crazy hair and futuristic glasses, I thought it was Doc Brown from Back to the Future. I didn't even think it was Albert Einstein until you mentioned it.
It's not bad to be honest.
And now I
It
have
fits the
this
profile.
African shirt.
Both have invented.
Yeah.
One invented the flux capacitor, and the other invented E equals MC squared. I don't remember what Einstein did, to be honest.
I just remember that one scene from Oppenheimer where he confronts Robert F. Oppenheimer. The Robert J. Oppenheimer? I don't
I didn't watch. No, I didn't
because
watch
if you don't know,
Oppenheimer, to be honest.
Oppenheimer created the atom bomb, not the atom bomb, but the big fucking bomb.
Science.
Science. I
We
still need to
love
watch that.
science.
I need to
We're
watch that.
very edgy. I was more of a Barbie man. Didn't watch either. More of a Barbie man, personally.
I need to watch Oppenheimer. It seemed like a good movie.
Oh,
But
you made it sound like you watched it.
I didn't. No, I didn't watch it. I knew that
Fair
was
enough.
sarcasm, but
Taylor's old as time.
um,
No, you made it sound like you actually had like sat and
oh
watched
no,
it.
I've seen the icon. I've seen because it's been memed a lot. I've seen the scene where Albert Einstein goes to see Robert Oppenheimer, and Oppenheimer obviously in the movie because I don't know what he actually said because they're both dead. But he says to him like, Albert, when I came to you with those calculations, did you realize that we've created like a monster or something like that? And that's all I hear when I see like whenever I see two people talking about something serious. It's just the image of Oppenheimer like putting his face down like. I came to you with those calculations, Ash, about doing a channel about soaps. But yeah, no. But yeah, continuing on. Oh, fucking hell. All right.
He's just comprehended how long the comment is. Too far. I also missed this one. I went, fucking hell, we've not got that much to read this time. Yeah, well, we do. We do. And
Watching
that's fine.
episodes 9 and 10 of EastEnders really reminds me how quickly the show started establishing the foundations of Walford as both a community and a place where trouble seems to exist just beneath the surface. Even though the show is still incredibly early in its run at this point, you can already see the writers beginning to build different layers of the square. The everyday routines of people's lives, the personal relationships between characters, and the dark elements will occasionally break through despite the sense of normality. One other thing that really stands out in these episodes is Nick Cotton, and how early the show positions him as someone who brings trouble with him wherever he goes. His involvement in selling the stolen goods might seem like a quite small storyline on the surface, but it immediately establishes that Walford simply isn't a tight knit community where everyone looks out for each other. There's also a darker side where certain people are willing to exploit others for their own gain. But I find particularly interesting is how quickly the show brings the police into it through DS Rich. Uh, yes, that immediately gives the impression that Nick's behaviour isn't just local gossip or petty mischief. It's something that could actually have serious consequences.
Yeah, it's a very strange thing, right? Because I mean, it does always have that community feel, and that will always be a huge part of it. But it's the one thing that a lot of people don't actually like to think about in small communities is, there's the unsavory shit that's going on behind closed doors. You don't always know what's going on. So, It's like, I mean, I'm sure you've heard about stuff, but like, you'll just be going about your day. Then you hear like some news where it's like some local person near you has just come out and been arrested for murder. It's like, what the fuck? What the fuck?
I went
Or,
to school
just
with him.
some like horrendous crime or anything like, and that stuff is kind of, if you're someone who's either fairly sheltered or, don't really know too many people, usually it's just kind of, it's, there's the stuff that happens, but it doesn't happen near you. Like, so like a lot of this stuff's always going on behind closed doors, but you're not exactly privy to it, and that's kind of how it feels in Walford necessarily, where they all kind of know there's problems, and you do hear things like in this week's episode, you hear about there being a heroin problem that people acknowledge, but like it's not like we're seeing people high off their tits, you know. We get vague hints that this is maybe what Nick's trying to do, and that's the interesting part. So I think it stands out in its way where a lot goes on behind closed doors, and you have to know the right people to actually know what's going on behind it.
Yeah, yeah. So just watching up the QR code. There we go. Now I can continue on. So where was I? Connected. Yeah, there we go. Connected to the storyline involving Nick and Mary, which is probably one of the most uncomfortable elements across these episodes. What really struck me with about those scenes is how casually Nick manipulates Mary and pushes her towards something she clearly doesn't fully understand. There's a real sense that Mary is incredibly vulnerable and naive in this situation, and that she's been drawn into something that could easily have led her to effectively becoming a prostitute without fully realizing what was happening. That's what makes Ethel's intervention so important. Ethel immediately sees through Nick's lies and refuses to keep quiet about it, which says a lot about her character even this early in the show. She often remembered later as a gentle She's often remembered later on as a gentler or more comic presence. Films like this shows that she also has a very strong moral compass and isn't afraid to speak up when she believes someone is being exploited. It's also a good example of how early EastEnders wasn't afraid to touch on darker social realities, particularly when it comes to vulnerable young people being manipulated by others around them.
I mean, it's one of those things where you do have to acknowledge that we all, like, as it's very much been shown, Mary is naive. She's in over her head. She doesn't really know how to be a mum, and honestly, she's not to fully like kind of take the piss out of it, but she's basically she's been a mum too young, and therefore hasn't really had the time to learn about herself and learn about the world. So, and equally, we learn in this week that she is Roman Catholic as well. So she's probably been quite a sheltered kid, and she was trying to break out of the mold that she was put in of being a good Catholic essentially, and that kind of has left her quite naive. And it's a weird thing with common sense, right? Where common sense, it's supposed to sound really, really normal, but common sense is mostly based off of like your own experiences. So not everybody's lived the same fucking life. Not everybody has that same level of common sense. Still a bollocks term, by the way. But anyways, like you do it through shared experience. But yeah, it is sad because, but it's the weird thing where naivety is viewed as a bad thing because there are bad people out there who will happily go against you and try to manipulate that into making you do something you don't want, like Nick in that example. But it's equally can be a good thing if you do often see the good in people and the good in the world, whereas not always expecting it to be dour and cynical. So it's I don't know, it's interestingly nuanced really, but yeah, like I said, it's also that it's the darkness bubbling under the surface. It's not there fully, it's not there always, it's not there. It's not even always in shot, but this just suggests that there is that little darker bit of underworld that most people know are there but don't really address because they don't want to think about it.
Yeah. Moving on. Moving on. At the same time, episode 9 quietly plants another important scene in the relationship between Jen and Angie. What might seem like a quite small moment, Angie discovering that Jen lied about the Bentley breaking down actually reveals quite a lot about their relationship. Den already came across as someone who keeps things from Angie and who likes to control the situation in his own way, while Angie is beginning to realize that she can't entirely trust him. What makes this even more telling is the way other people get drawn into Den's deception. Pete and Kathy end up becoming involved in the situation and effectively helping maintain Den's lie, which actually makes his behavior feel even worse. He isn't just lying to Angie privately. He's willing to pull his friends and even Angie's friends into the cover up if it helps protect his secrets. In that sense, the lie stops being about their marriage and starts spreading out into the wider community, reinforcing the idea that Den will go to almost any length to keep the truth hidden. And
Yeah. Mhm.
I was just gonna continue on 'cause I didn't know if you had
Oh
anything
no,
to
it's
say.
just the small bit really is just the it's a really intriguing bit about Den because it reaches a point where you would just think he just stop lying about it and he'd just be honest. But once again, he doesn't want his facade, he doesn't want his like grand successful life and the kind of fake it till you make it bravado. He doesn't want that to fade. So all in all, you just kind of as he keeps doing it and as he keeps hurting everyone around him, you just kind of go like, why the fuck do you keep doing it? Like surely Angie knows, but if he does just fully admit it, there's a chance she leaves and suddenly, oh, what has Den done to do that? And that would obviously unravel a lot of his kind of perfect image in a way.
Yeah. Another smaller storyline in episode 9 that I actually find quite interesting is discovery of the dumped letters by Sharon, Michelle, Mark, and Kelvin. It's not a huge dramatic plot, but it reflects something that early EastEnders does very well, which is focusing on ordinary problems within a community. Something like undelivered post might seem like quite a minor issue compared to some of the big soap storylines that came later, but it's exactly the kind of everyday situation. Lebs make Walford feel like a believable place where people live, interact, and notice when something is quite right.
Yeah, I'm not going to go super deep on this one, but it's something we kind of echo really, where it does help it feel grounded and real, but also this sort of like basic kind of approach also is what people would complain about now. So it had to evolve with the time.
Yeah, Kelvin's situation around the tools is another moment that highlights the pressure the younger characters face in the square. When Kelvin briefly comes under suspicion over the lifted tools, you can see how quickly situations spiral when people jump to conclusions. Tony's reaction particularly interesting because he defends Kelvin at first, standing up for him when others begin to suspect the worst. But afterwards, Tony still comes down hard on him, making it clear that Kelvin has to be incredibly careful about the situation he finds himself in. It's a moment that says a lot about Tony as a father figure. On one hand, he is protective and willing to defend Kelvin when he believes he's been unfairly judged, but on the other hand, he also knows the reality of how easily young people, especially young black men, can find themselves in trouble if they aren't careful. It's quite a subtle theme, but it adds another layer to the show's early exploration of social pressures and expectations.
Yeah, exactly. It's the kind of most admirable thing about Tony, where, as said, Tony is the opposite of a stereotype, really, where he is tactful. He understands that if he is to succeed, he needs to be better than everyone at doing it, and he needs to be smarter than everyone, and he needs to not let like societal pressure or kind of as he does. He's not going to let the expectations define who he is. So he's going to do everything to fight the pressure, and it's like you even take the kind of yeah, you take that perspective with like a certain demographic, where let's say you're a woman in a predominantly male field, right? You need to work infinitely harder to get the respect and the admiration that you actually deserve in order to even like get any sense of like if any way to like better yourself and like equally that for Tony, right? I assume Tony probably doesn't come from much and he has probably had to scrape and claw to get even a sense of being successful. He now owns places in London, which probably not the most expensive then. Fucking mate, I bet when he sells it, he's making a pretty penny. So he has to go above and beyond to prove that he is just as deserving and earns all he does. And that's why he comes down so hard on Kelvin, because it's like, why are you buying stolen shit? Like, it's essentially saying one excuse. Like, people will only need one excuse to write you off. So don't be so fucking naive.
Yeah. Around the episode 10 shifts the tone slightly. The break-in at Saeed's shop, which brings a stronger sense of vulnerability into the square. Saeed's reluctance to involve the police is particularly interesting because it highlights the feeling that he and Neymar are slightly outside the community despite living there. The storyline subtly touches on themes of belonging and isolation, which is something the show would continue exploring in different ways over the years.
Yeah, it's just yeah, not very much to add.
Around the edge of these episodes, we're also introduced to Ebby and Andy and Debbie. So far, at least in my opinion, Andy comes across as quite a dull character, someone who hasn't really shown much depth. Yeah, beyond simply being present in the square. Debbie, on the other hand, already manages to feel a little irritating, even the small amounts we've seen of her so far. It's still very early days for both characters, of course, so it will be interesting to see whether they develop more as the show progresses. But based purely on these first impressions, neither of them particularly stand out compared to some of the stronger personalities already established in Walford.
I mean, I 100% believe that that's a choice. Debbie stands out because she is a middle class banker. And so inherently, Debbie is found to keep trying to essentially, she's trying to endear herself to Walford, but Walford doesn't really have the room for her because she just comes across as overbearing and irritating is the exact word for it, where she knows that she's different and wants to fit in, but Wolford doesn't really allow strangers too nicely. I mean, even say what Saeed and Neymar and Ali and Sue, like, they are still on the outs as well, and I don't know how long they've been there for, but they've probably been here a whole lot longer than Debbie. So yeah, I think she is supposed to stand out in just the fact that she is different, and she is kind of like she's someone she's in a way better position than pretty much everybody else on the show. Like, it's her and Andy and um Kathy and Pete. Those are the two people who are actually doing well financially. And I guess Angie and Den, but they don't really talk about that side of it. But and then Debbie and then Andy, once again, I think Andy is there to, because the conflict of Debbie and Andy will always be the fact that she always wants him to do something bigger and better. She wants him to make more money, and she wants to have the life that she wants, and she doesn't really give Andy that kind of clemency or that leniency, and therefore that will always be a point of kind of contention, because being a nurse is good work, but it's clearly doesn't pay enough. And she wants her life, and she wants to live it extravagantly, and kind of how she wants all the fruits. And Andy is just he's just a normal guy, really. that's that's generally how it is. I think he is intentionally unremarkable, and Debbie is intentionally irritating.
All right, continuing on. Um, what also stood out to me in these episodes is the role played by older women of the square. Particularly Lou being on Ethel Skinner. Lou is often presented as quite a crotchety, sharp-tongued old woman who seems to complain about almost everything around her. But moments like this shows another side to her character. Beneath the gruff exterior, she can be also a staunch defender of what she believes in believes is right, and in many ways a pillar of the community when it really matters. When Neymar and Saeed face suspicion and hostility after the break and Lou's reaction is interesting because although she can sometimes be seen blunt or old fashioned, she is someone who recognizes injustice and isn't afraid to defend people when she feels they are being treated unfairly. It's all I'm thinking on.
No, it continues. It continues.
It's also interesting compared to Lou's response to Ethel's defense of Mary earlier in the next storyline. Ethel steps in very quickly because she immediately recognizes that Mary's been manipulated and exploited by Nick, and she refuses to stay silent about it. Lou's defense of Neymar and Saeed feels slightly different in tone, but Ethel's reaction seems to come from a place of warmth and concern for Mary as a vulnerable young woman. Lou's response feels more rooted in the sense of fairness and community order. Both women are standing up for what they feel, standing up for people who are in difficult situations. They do in ways that reflect their personalities. Ethel's intervention feels driven by empathy, whereas Lou's defense feels more like the voice of someone protecting the integrity of the square self. Moments like this highlight something that very early EastEnders very well was just it's showing how the older generation often act as the moral backbone of the community, even if they express it in very different ways. The situation escalates
I mean,
further.
it's the kind of state of play where, I mean, it's first, obviously, everybody wants an Ethel or a Lou behind them. Maybe not all the time, but when you need it in that dour moment, they will be there to defend you because they've seen a lot and they've been through a lot. At the end of the day, that's their role. They are, they have wisdom, they are wise, they've lived through a lot. And in that way, they aren't shy of they're not shy of just saying what they think because, and I always kind of maintain this. Once you reach a certain age, I'd argue that you reach that certain point where you just start saying, you know what, fuck it, who cares anymore? I don't care how people think of me. I'm gonna say what I want because I've been here long enough and I'm tired of dancing around people. And that is Lou and Ethel. They both say what they want and they don't really care that much. Like, yeah, they sometimes they'll want you to like them, but fundamentally they're not really that fussed. All in all, it's like if it's basically you may not like it, you may not like me in the moment, but at least if I'm doing this, it shows that I respect you or I acknowledge you. So that to me is the fairly refreshing part where yeah, I'm sure Ethel can't even pronounce like I'd take the piss and say I'm sure Lou doesn't even try to pronounce Neymar or Saeed's surname, even if their surname is Jeffrey. I'm sure I don't know what the bloody hell that fucking name is. That sort of approach to it. But all in all, she respects that they are a part of the community and it's their kind of role as the seniors in a way. It's their role to protect people within, and that's the important part, and that's what I kind of really love about these characters.
Yeah, the situation escalates further when Ali Osman is mugged, which reinforces the idea that life in Walford can sometimes be harsh and unpredictable. Scenes like this remind the audience that the show is originally designed to portray a gritty and realistic picture of London life rather than an ideally idealized version of a neighborhood. When you look at episodes 9 and 10 together, what really stands out is the show balances several different types of storytelling at the same time. There are domestic tensions between characters like Dan and Angie, the smaller community mysteries like the missing letters, the pressures facing younger characters like Kelvin, and then the dark elements of crime and violence are emerging through characters like Nick and the mugging of Ali. Considering the was only 10 episodes into its run at this point, it's actually quite impressive how clearly the writers had already begun stifling the DNA that would define EastEnders for decades to come. Complicated relationships, strong community dynamics, social realism, and the constant sense that beneath of the ordinary roots of the square, something dramatic is always waiting to happen.
I mean, it's just you have to establish the culture early on because that's what people come to believe in and come to expect. It's why I mean it's a simple matter of why is Hollyoaks always viewed as like the ugly stepsister. And that's because Hollyoaks has the attitude that it's a little bit fast paced, it's a bit unrealistic, and all the actors are pretty garbage. And like they set the culture of that fairly early on, and they've never really been able to change the tone. You need to establish that culture early, otherwise, that is always how it will be viewed to people who don't actually care to know any better. And that's why EastEnders did a good job of kind of like building, like setting up the foundations of the show early, because it doesn't take long for people to give up on something. And that's why Hollyoaks would always have that reputation of bad acting and terrible storylines and overly paced, simply because it's just something they've leaned into for too long, and that is something it's now known for. Even if some of those things aren't even really in place anymore, it really doesn't matter, because the person who's saying that is a person who typically either doesn't care enough to reassess the opinion, or it's just something they heard once 10 years ago and they've just stayed put.
Yep. For most promising characters this week, this is us by Luke the Ultimate Whovian. For most promising characters this week, I'm giving it to Neymar's Jeffrey. She feels more central to the story across these episodes. Because of the shop and robbery and the fallout that followed. What I particularly enjoyed was the dynamic between Neymar and Lou Beale. Lou's obvious contempt for Saeed is actually quite interesting to watch. At the same time, Lou seems to recognise that Neymar herself is only really suffering in the situation, which gives their interactions a lot more weight. For underrated character this week, I'm giving it to Nick Cotton. In many ways, he's doing exactly what the character was clearly designed to do. Through Nick, we're already seeing crime and racism beginning to escalate in Walford. A lot of tension stem from his behaviour. Which makes him interesting is that he isn't some so sophisticated villain. He's quite obvious and petty in the way that he goes about things, but that actually makes the character more intriguing. His actions also keep the Reg Cox storyline present in the background, at the same time highlighting the other smaller crimes and shady dealings that seem to be happening around the square. The most wooden award goes to Saeed Jeffrey. My main reason for that is how ineff- ineffectual he feels after the shop robbery. Instead of helping her comfort or support Neymar, where she's clearly distressed, he seems to rely on other people to step in and do that for him. If anything, that way he reacts just seems to make Neymar even more upset rather than helping the situation. Finally, who needs the slapping down award has to go to Nick Cotton, only because of his criminal behaviour and the racially motivated tension he stirs up around the square, but also because of the way he tries to push Mary towards prostitution while pretending not to understand exactly what he's doing. The combination of manipulation, dishonesty, and cruelty makes him easily the most deserving candidate for the award this week. Paul looks at that thumbs down, give it a thumbs up and a like. There we go. Do that again. Do that again. Do
I don't even
that.
know. Before you read, but I feel like we have to do something to liven us up. These comments have absolutely slayed both of us. Fuck, you know.
It'll
You
be
can
fun.
just see the sleepy nature of both of us as a tiny segment. How do we hype ourselves back up?
We only have
How do
two.
we do it?
We only have two more comments. Fine.
Yeah, just the energy. We need the energy.
We'll be fine.
Injections of energy straight into the veins.
Finally, while it's not meant to be a deep financial analysis, it's interesting to consider Andy and Debbie's household income based on their jobs. As a nurse, Andy would probably have been earned around 8,500
8,000.
a year, while Debbie working at the bank might earn roughly 7,500, reflecting the reality of the time where women were often paid less than men. Had Debbie been in the same role, she
Still are.
might earned closer to 9,000 to 10,000. That would give Andy and Debbie a combined household income of roughly 16,000 a year, which is about 63,000 in today's money. Right?
That is
And
decently well off.
yeah,
At that stage where that's happily middle class. Not
um,
now, that's fuck all, but
and we have four questions. Luke first says, "Do you think Nick Cotton could have worked the long-term villain, and how much would it need to change for longevity?" I feel like you have to change him for longevity because if you keep him around for too long and he's still a fascist, people are just going to get sick of him. You need to change of what his crimes are going to be, which in the end, yes, they do become Looney Tunes levels of crimes, but I still like the character. Uh, Obviously the 90s hold something different for him, which you will see. And then the 2000s and 2010s where it gets a bit weirder. But yeah, I feel like you have to change for longevity, which I think they do change for longevity. They could have made him gay with Lofty, but they didn't, which I really am sad to see. But still,
I think long-term villain, not in the way that you would expect. Like, I think he has to become more of like an anti-hero type character to last long because at the end of the day, villains' characters are marked. You usually leave after the storyline or you do something really, really horrendous that results in you needing to go away and face consequences. So for him to be like, could he have been like a long-term like bad boy? Yes. But in that way, you have to kind of shy away from what crimes he's actually doing, or you kind of make him be cool about it. Like essentially, you turn him into a Phil Mitchell or a Warren Fox type character, where yeah, they've done bad things, but they do have that kind of cult of personality that kind of drives them forward, and they're not inherently a bad person because you see their relationships and you see what they do other than all the bad crime shit they're doing. So you could make him a hard man, but equally, I don't know, like I don't know how to feel about John Altman's like acting chops because he does do a good job sometimes, but he's not the most consistent actor in my opinion, and he always felt quite one note to me, and it definitely gets worse over the years as the character becomes a character. It becomes a caricature of Nick Cotton in the 80s when in 2015, but it's just. I don't know. I like obviously the dynamic he had with Dot was king, and you never changed that. But fundamentally, I don't really know. I don't really know if he was capable of it personally. And even if he was, he fucked it up by going against Julia Smith. So, so he could have become a long-term bad boy, but I don't know. I think early on they kind of narrowed down the formula, and they just really liked the formula.
yeah,
And the formula of him coming back saying, "Oh, Dot, I've changed," and then he doesn't change and does it again, and then Dot leaves embarrassed and ashamed. That was the formula they cottoned on to. It still works really well, but yeah, you definitely need to, in this way, you make him have the family on screen, or you know, but the issue is if he's an out and out villain, he can't stay for that long. But you could have had him just become a bad boy. You haven't become an anti-hero. You haven't become a Phil Mitchell, a uh, a Warren Fox, one of those sorts of characters. Because otherwise, he's just destined to have to leave because he's going to do something horrendous.
yeah. If number two, if Mark had stayed on the square in 1995, how do you think his character would have progressed? Could he eventually become a tragic villain character? I don't think he would have become a villain character had he stayed. I think they would have still put him on the right path, and he still would have been what's the word I'm looking for? And a friendly enough character. But I don't know the longevity because of what he did with Julia Smith, like what allegedly happened, and the press hounding him. So I honestly couldn't really tell you. I would like to know, but I will never sadly know. So yeah,
Um, he wouldn't have become a villain. I think he would have become. See, the issue is I don't know how if it was a storyline today, he would have been kind of radicalized by the fascist group, and he probably would have shown these tendencies for like 6 months to a year, and then he redeems himself and probably commits a crime, goes to prison, reforms, and then he's back. That's how it would happen in today. But equally, the fascist group doesn't like it. It does start to vanish after this point, so it's not really that long term a thing. So I think in this time they just go, "Oh, I was clearly in over my head. I'll not do it again," and then he moves on. Um, I think he would have been a big piece. I do think he would have been a really big part of the puzzle. But yeah, he did just he committed the highest form of treason, which was saying no to Julia Smith. But I think he would have been a troubled bad boy. Probably would have done some not so savory things, but you would never have been an out and out villain. Personally, tragic character, yes. Villain, no. It's like the thing with Mark, right? Where unfortunately the character just got really harkened down. Where even the kid he raises his own was Phil's. So like, they didn't really do that. And then when he comes back, he has the HIV storyline, which is inherently really important to do, but also lended to the fact that the legacy isn't really gonna be there with Mark, unfortunately. And like it's a state of play with the Fowler family in general, where annoyingly, like they never really like. Yeah, sure, Ian had a ton of kids, but most of them have died. So yeah, it's just that unfortunate point where they just didn't really start to invest. Like at least Martin's had a few kids, but how many of them actually have the name Fowler? I guess I don't know. It's the weird thing where they just stopped actually creating more Fowler kids, really.
Yeah. I'm moving on to question 3, and it's episode 3. With the letters and post being stolen, have I missed why this was done? Is it a subtle link to the golden square circle, and someone trying to steal any money of the post, any money being sent in the post? I think so. Do you have any insight
I'd
on that?
imagine so. It would make the most sense. There were a lot, like everybody was talking about the golden circle. It's easy to suggest that Nick probably went, "Oh, money."
And
I don't know,
finally,
but I don't actually know for full clarity. I didn't pick up on that detail apparently.
of all characters who joined the show after the first week there, who are the best and worst for them? Why do they work or not, and who could they have positioned better? I think you could have positioned Mark way better. I know they tried to, but obviously he leaves, and as you said, commits treason by pissing off Julia Smith and Tony Holland. Um, but uh, yeah, I feel like Mark. Why do they work?
Right, to me, it's the caveat of the like after the first week. So I guess it comes more like the was Tony in the first week,
He was second, I believe.
and then it's characters like Mary, Debbie, Andy, Dot eventually when she arrives. I think.
Yeah. God damn, I don't really know how to answer this one. My brain's not with it. I'm sorry. Uh, uh,
Um, to me, I think the best characters I've enjoyed. I do come to like Kelvin quite a bit, but all in all, I think the character who has a lot of reverence in like the 80s culture, it is Mary for me, because Mary is just an interesting character. And a teenage mum, comes from nothing, comes from a deeply religious background, goes out, goes gigging, ends up pregnant with a baby. Obviously her religion, she's not going to get rid of the baby, is she? So she's stuck with a baby now, being super young, doesn't really know what to do, and is she wants anybody to kind of take care of her, but she's too reluctant to like actually ask a dad or ask a family, because she's from up north, now she's down in London. So that, to me, I think Mary is one of the kind of definitive early characters of the 80s. And I think that makes her so interesting. And once again, I think the best bit about a lot of these characters is a lot of them are quite self-contained. A lot of them don't get diluted through years and years of staying. A lot of them do leave in 80. I mean, one of our favorite characters leaves fairly soon, let's be honest. Um, and doesn't really last too long. So a lot of these characters are quite self-contained before it gets out of hand. And I think that's what makes their legacy a little bit better preserved. But equally, because they may not have lasted so long, I think that's why a lot of them will never actually kind of come back. Because first, it's been too long now. And equally, then, a lot of the links kind of died off quite quickly, right? Where, I mean, take the whole angle. It's like, oh, it's Dot's funeral, right? Who comes back? Lofty and Mary. That's about it. That's all you're getting. That's the only 80s fan service you're getting. And then sometimes you get Colin and Barry. But other than that, it's pretty stark in where they actually kind of keep. So yeah, I those characters though, obviously the characters that poised to do great things is Michelle Fowler, of course. She obviously gets the best fucking treatment in the 80s after Mark leaves. But yeah. But the characters like Debbie and Andy, I think they work, but they're never going to be your main hitters. Um, Sue and Ali equally not really going to last. I mean, Sue to me is probably the first tragic character of EastEnders because fuck me, it gets really dark. It's Christ. I'm not looking forward to having to cover that. Like if I had to describe what is the soap's first tragedy, it does involve Sue.
Yeah. And I guess that is all the comments. I believe it's all the comments. So I have to refresh just to make sure. Just going to refresh here. That is all the comments. So now, without further ado, that's fucking what am I trying to say? Now it's time to read membership shoutouts. If you're a member, you get a shout out. That's pretty obvious. So in the fans, we've Luca, X6X26X6, Stephen Griffiths 4894, and Ollie Kingston 7530. They're all the fans, and now the watchers. Who are the watchers? Dizzy Flora, Luke the Alphahovian, Sobriety Solace, SD Cricket Fan, and the Rivets. So there you go.
Hey, the Rivets has also just come up to 1 year being a watcher, which is fucking wild. So thank you.
Thank you, the Rivets.
Hey, I mean, they came here for the. They showed up majoritively through the 40th anniversary reactions, and they've stayed committed. So once again, thank you, the Rivets, for such a long time.
Do you reckon they forgot to take their the card out
and forgot to turn it off?
Yeah, turn it off. They've just stayed because they went, don't watch the channel. Fuck
it's just like that Disney Plus. Just like, fucking, I forgot. I thought I cancelled it. Now I've got an extra month.
Back. But yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. Hello, fellow watchers and interested. It is I, Piggy, and I'm joined by Ash.
Hello.
And yeah, we're going to bring you yet another edition of the Watching Walford podcast. It's classic edition. It's episode 6. Today's episode is going to cover the biggest tournament segues from week 6 of 1985. All the episodes from the 26th of the 3rd to the 28th of the 3rd. And what are the topics? Well, we only have one really, but we have the intro, the square flag back, thoughts and awards, members' comments / reactions to week 4, and membership. Week 5. Sorry, that's supposed to say week 5. You didn't hear that. That was a slip up. Week 5. And then we have membership shout outs.
It's not week 6.
Oh, it's week 6. No, yeah, it's reactions to week 5. Because obviously week 6 we haven't released. What I'm saying is this is the reactions that we'll be talking about later on with the members. Because they have obviously seen the reactions to week 6.
Oh, yeah. Bloody hell. He's had an absolute wobble this introduction. Bloody hell.
Yeah, sorry.
What's even going on? Should we do it again?